Hi guys, so this is for notary signing agents nationwide. Remember, you should never stop marketing yourself directly. There is a common misconception in our industry that signing services are doing us a favor by procuring business for us, when the fact of the matter is that they're actually stealing our business, being a middleman in between our direct business, and then paying us oftentimes 50 to 70% less of the notary fee than we deserve. Okay, inflation's at an all-time high. The cost of everything is going up. Here in California, the state has just increased the notarization fee from $15 to $20 per notarization. So that means that the signing rates should also follow suit. We should not be making less than we were making 5 years ago. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I know a lot of us are frustrated because, again, there are these gurus and mentors in the notary signing agent world that tell us, oh, to get our foot in the door, take, $75 instead of the $250 that you deserve for scheduling appointments, printing documents, scanning documents, doing the appointment, dropping those documents off. You should not be lowballing yourself at any time in this industry. So please keep that in mind when you kind of feel victim to the brainwashing. And I know, I was there a while back too, where you feel like, oh, okay, well, it's a job I wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah, you would, because you would be marketing yourself directly. There is less need for the signing services now that real estate has slowed down than ever before. It's a great time to really look at your business model and what you want to focus on. Who wants to be doing all of this work, even extra work, when you're working for a signing service than you are working directly with the title or the lender or the law firm or whoever is asking you to bring documents to a signer and witness the signer's signature, right? So really consider that you are worth every penny. I don't really understand the legality of disclosing to a signer who's footing the bill, usually for that signing, that the notary fee is, let's say, $250, but in actuality, then the notary's only making, 50 to 70% less of that. How is this happening? So if you feel frustrated, don't think, ooh, that's just the way it is in this industry. Speak up. Tell people directly. Don't feel like there's a lot of intimidation and fear tactics in this industry as well from the signing services, where I know in California, a lot of these hiring agencies, they're not following California independent contractor law, which makes it illegal for anybody to reduce your fee, to make you sign a independent contractor agreement that violates California independent contractor laws, to threaten you, to micromanage you, to do all this stuff where they're acting like an employer rather than a hiring agency hiring an independent contractor. And if you're a notary signing agent with your own business, you're an independent contractor. You're not an employee of the title company or the lender, or certainly not the signing service, right? Remember, signing services market themselves to title companies saying, oh, we're, not going to charge you anything. We're going to make sure your documents are executed correctly. Not something they're supposed to be doing, because remember, a notary is never responsible for the contents of the documents. And we should not be instructing people how to fill out documents. Really, our job is to present the document for signature, initials, date, etc. We can point out where documents need to be filled out, but that signer should be able to read, write, speak the language of the document. You're not supposed to be telling people how to fill out tax forms or anything. You're supposed to be handing the document over. For example, this is the deed of trust. There you go. It's, first page, rest of the pages, signature page, right? That's it. I mean, you're not, how do I say this? This industry really takes advantage of a lot of people who just end up dropping out because they're afraid to speak up and go, yeah, this is unfair. This is illegal. This is certainly immoral. I had a signing service, and I won't say it here, but if you contact me, again, I am no gatekeeper. We are all in this together. It's in an industry where we're not allowed to unionize. These folks capitalize on making sure that we stay separate and feel like we're competition with each other, which is not the case. I had a signing service that I'd done a lot of work for tell me that as a notary, I'm a public servant and I cannot refuse any orders. She said that. And my response to her was less of, now I'm a lot less defensive because I understand a lot of people just don't know and just don't care to learn. Some of them are certainly manipulative and malicious, to be sure. But for the most part, they don't know this stuff either. And so my first reaction was to tell her, like, oh my God, is that how you see yourself? Because she also told me she's a notary here in California. I looked at her SnapDocs profile. She has 23 orders. I mean, so, yeah, okay, what kind of notary are you? If that's the case, you're not new and you're working for a signing service that, seems to have been in business since 2009. Like, give me a break. But my response to her was to say, wow, is that how you feel? Like, you feel like you can't say no, like you're a servant? And I had to explain to her the difference between being a walk-in facility offering notarial services and no, technically you're not allowed to refuse. If somebody walks in with a document, current photo ID, and $15, you're not supposed to say no. But it's within reason. If you're a mobile notary signing agent, oh, absolutely. If you have a, any kind of like mobile business where you're scheduling appointments to meet with people, no, you are not. Just for anybody who thinks, oh, I'm a public servant, I have to be available to everybody for nothing if they ask. No, that is not the case. And you can look up these laws. You can Google them. You can go to the Secretary of State. You can contact the Labor Commissioner. Now with one service that's trying to force me to sign an independent contractor agreement that is not legal in California, I'm now having to file wage claims with the Labor Commissioner here in Santa Rosa because they're trying to withhold payment after I process those 2 signing appointments. And it's like, are you kidding? And what's really kind of egregious about this is that I'm telling them, you're violating state laws. You're violating California laws. Here's the law. Here's the code. Here's AB 5. And they're still pursuing it in a way where they're like, oh, I've never heard of this. No one else has ever said anything. That doesn't make it right? Look at all the stuff that's happening in our world right now. Just because nobody else has brought it to light and it eventually comes to light doesn't mean that it's ethical or legal. Like, what is wrong with you? Anyway, just to all the notaries out there who feel frustrated and feel taken advantage of, yeah, that is the case. And there are things you can do about it. You can report it to the state. You can report it to the NNA, report it to SnapDocs. Don't be shy. Nothing changes if we don't actually do something about this. If we sit back and go, oh, no, that's just the way it is. No, it's not. Because there are those of us who know our value and are experienced, we are definitely setting our rates. And, gone are the times where I am going to be accepting appointments for extremely low rates, where after all is said and done, all the overhead taxes, all of that, I'm making minimum wage. Like, I was talking with another notary and she was like, we could just go work it In-N-Out and make $25 an hour, make more, and have insurance benefits. Like, why would we be putting ourselves in positions where we're walking into people's homes, we're walking into situations we don't know with people's legal documents, we're in charge of, making sure they get executed correctly, and then scanning and shipping and doing all this stuff. It's extremely exhausting. And again, I have the ability to have a flexible schedule so I can work when I want to. I don't really have a lot of restrictions in my life. And I know for me, if it's exhausting, I cannot imagine people who are caring for children or other family members or have other things going on. I really feel for all of us in this business, but make sure that you are talking with other notaries in your area. We are not competition. And if you feel that way, you're making your life more stressful. The same notary that I was talking about working it in and out with, she had told me something that somebody had relayed to her, which is fantastic. And it is that successful people collaborate, and people who, are struggling, viewing each other as competition, they are the ones buying into the mentality of like, oh, well, it's a dog eat dog world. And you're not doing yourself, firstly, or anybody else any favors. All you're doing is furthering that divide that allows everyone to get taken advantage of. So anyway, I hope that resonated with a lot of you, and, feel free, reach out. We're in this community together. We know the struggle, and we are much more powerful when we're connecting with one another than when we are isolated. Okay, have a good day.